evening from Swansea, wrestling fans. I'm your host, Ben Allison, and you are watching Wrestling Republic's daily broadcast, your one-stop shop for professional wrestling, insight, news, and reviews on a daily basis. We have a lot to talk about today, including if Kevin Owens is going to be leaving WWE. He has less than 6 months left on his deal, and he has confirmed that he has not signed a new one yet. We're going to talk about that and more and preview tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite as well. But before we do, I've got to introduce today's panel, and let's kick things off with Clark Taylor. Clark, how are you today?
What's going on, Ben? My voice is working its way back to normality after Progress 170. It was an absolute delight. David Sheldon was scheduled for today's show, but he ended up at a musical. Sorry, I want to shout out David. He's the man, but he's at a musical. It's like rubbing it in. I have
The
no
audacity.
voice. He's listening to people sing. You're kidding me. But if we're going to bring in a replacement for David Sheldon, we got the best one in the game out of the bullpen. We got the righty from Texas. We got the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. I'm not going to ruin your intro, but I'm fired up to be here. I'm fired up about it.
Well, if we were going to bring in anybody to replace David on this show, we have to bring in David's biggest rival here at Wrestling Republic. How are you today, Ignacio?
He's back.
Hello. It's good to be back. For those of you who are excited about Oasis getting back together, you'll know where I'm coming from. Great to be back, man. Great to see you guys. Great to be back on the show. And David Sheldon, a musical, really? I mean, all right, whatever. We'll comment on that back later. I'm excited to be back, and I'm excited about our topics, Ben. Let's get to it, man.
Absolutely. It's going to be a fun show, and let's kick things off by talking about Mr. Kevin Owens. Like I said in the intro, he's got less than 6 months left on his deal in WWE. He has confirmed that he has not signed a new contract. And at his age, let's face it, it's rather risky to not sign a new contract when there's less than 6 months on your current deal. You are risking an injury or something like that could result in you getting a lesser contract. We also know how TKO are negotiating these new deals. They're being hard to negotiate with, right? They don't seem to be budging when it comes to a lot of contract negotiations. So why he's leaving it this late, I don't know. Could it be because he wants to go? Clark, I want to get your thoughts on this out of the gate. Could we see KO go to AEW even?
So this is really interesting because you made a lot of really good points there. And that's something you got to deal with in any contract negotiation. No doubt about it. I think Kevin Owens in particular, though, he's had this experience in the past, Ben. He's at a stage of his career where he's gotten the big contracts. And for all we know, probably saved some money. So he's in a position where he has the leverage to bet on himself. Injury or not, it's a risk in some situations, but he's on his third or fourth major contract, not his first or second. Unique to other members of the roster, I think in this situation, he's betting on himself. He's going to get the biggest bag he can out of it, but he's also going to do what's right for him. He's going to go where he wants to go, when he wants to go there. I think at the end of the day, he resigns with WWE, but he's going to drag this negotiation out as long as he can, and he's earned that right.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I mean, we have the heel mark saying your voice is coming back. It is. Clark's voice is coming back. I was hoping he was going to do a Bane impression during the intro, but unfortunately, you're saving that one for another
darkness. That's all I got. There you go.
And the heel mark's also saying that if Kevin Owens goes anywhere, he's going to Clark's favorite promotion, TNA.
Yeah, no. They can't afford him.
I don't think they have the money here.
Yeah.
I love how I do just want, because I've actually not been on a show with you, Clark, when you've said this, they don't have the money thing about TNA. Because let's not forget that Ospreay, who was offered $1 million deal by AEW per year, said that TNA weren't too far away off matching it. So they clearly must have some reserve somewhere.
So here's the thing. I look at it like this. Roster, how much cash is available. If there was a salary cap, like we're talking American sports, like we're talking basketball or the NFL, right? If there's a salary cap, then yeah, TNA could compete. But the pockets are too long on the big two. The pockets are too deep on the big two for it to be possible for TNA to compete. So now, for Ospreay in particular to be the face of the brand, they may have offered him a competitive price. But then that also deeply affects the distribution on the money for the rest of the roster. And I understand making a play at a guy of the caliber of Will Ospreay to try to make him the face of your brand and to make a competitive offer. I do believe that's possible. But to build a roster filled with Ospreays, filled with talent that are established stars, it's impossible.
But yeah, I think listen, if there's a demand for either, if Kevin Owens does leave, if he's interested in going to TNA, or if Lashley's interested in going to TNA, I think they could afford them. I don't think that's the question.
Yes,
whether they have a bigger contract elsewhere is a different matter, but they could afford a great
contract. They got Nick Nemeth, right?
Yeah.
Nick Nemeth, he's a big enough.
He's not
name.
actually signed. He's on a per event deal, but yeah.
And he's on a per event deal. And interestingly enough, he's got a second job. He's over hosting Busted Open, right?
Yeah.
He's on a mic like us. And that's arguably the biggest free agent name on the roster in the last 24 months. I would say. I mean,
right, probably him or Cardona, right? You'd have to say on that one. But CavKSK has a good shout. He could see Kevin Owens starting something of his own in Canada. Seems like that guy. I mean, that's actually not a bad shout at all. We know Scott D'Amore's just started Maple Leaf Pro in Canada as well. Revived an old promotion there and brought it back. Perhaps Kevin Owens could go there and do something because look at their first event, the names they have on it. They've clearly got some financial backing as well. Number one Superfly says there's no way Kevin Owens will leave WWE. What he's doing now is fantastic. I absolutely agree. I just can't see it happening.
The one other thing I'll add, I'm sorry, and I know you're going to Ignacio next, but this is a major factor, and I meant to mention it. Kevin Owens being a father with his family and the age that his children are going to, that schedule is brutal. And to make a move at this stage does make some sense. That adds up in my brain there.
It's a good point.
To be able to be there for, games and recitals and to be there for all that stuff that you wouldn't be able to. It's a factor.
Absolutely. I do think his kids are... I mean, I might need to fact check this. I think these kids are actually, though, almost adults now. I know
no, that's what I mean, in their teen years.
Oh, right, yeah.
As high school students, you only have so much time left.
Because his son started... His son, who, by the way, is massive. He's an absolute giant. He, I believe, started wrestling training now. So that... Yeah, he's huge. But I believe he started wrestling training now. So who knows? Maybe we could see them teaming on the indies together or something.
Amazing.
That would be nuts. But Ignacio, I want to get your thoughts on this. Do you think Kevin Owens is leaving?
I don't know if this was 2 years ago or a year and a half ago. When did Endeavor take over? Year ago?
Just over a year ago.
Okay. Well, now Endeavor's involved, so I mean, who knows? They're pushing these constructs way to the very end, just like they did with Natalya, and they did it with Chad Gable, and they did it with Becky Lynch. And I don't know if they're still negotiating with her. What's going on there? Haven't heard any updates on that. But if they weren't involved, I think absolutely that Kevin Owens would be staying with WWE. But Kevin Owens is in a position where he's kind of like Randy Orton did with his, and others that I can't really think about the top of my head now, but Randy Orton comes to mind, where he's kind of like, he can get what he wants, and if WWE doesn't match it, he can say, okay, I'll just go elsewhere, and I'm cool with that. He can say, I can't say this now. What, F you, he can say, well, F you. All right, I'll go elsewhere. he's older. He's had a lot of injuries. He's had bad knees. I think at one point he was out for maybe 18 months or so because he had surgery on both his knees at one point. So, he's going to be looking for what's comfortable for him, what's comfortable for his family, because he's never been like a real big party guy or anything like that. It seems like somebody that saved his money. He wants to do be there for his kids and his wife and so forth. So he's going to get the contract that he feels comfortable with whatever. Never say never, because I would say, he's never going to go to AEW. And that's just not possible with anybody anymore. Anybody can end up with in AEW, anybody within reason. You're not going to see Cena or Roman Reigns in AEW. But is Kevin Owens likely to go there? Sure. If they give him what he wants, if he only works one day a week, if he only works one pay-per-view every once in a while. And then Clark brought up something interesting about Nick Nemeth. How good would Kevin Owens be like on a podcast? That's like
good point.
Tailor made for him. So yeah, I can see him like once in a while with TNA and then having his own podcast on the side. Well, that's
like born for it.
Born for it. That's very likely. So
it's a great call.
If the end of the day of WWE, if he says, you know what, I don't want to work house shows anymore unless they're in MSG or LA, and I only want to work every other pay-per-view, definitely WrestleMania, and I don't even want more money. I just want what I got last time. I can very likely see him stay in WWE.
Yeah, I think that'll be a good deal for him as well.
Spot on.
And the other thing I will just mention to that as well, like you mentioned the podcast stuff, he is an absolutely natural at it. He currently does have, it's kind of a podcast, kind of not. On the on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel, not on the Wrestling Republic YouTube channel, unfortunately.
Hopefully someday.
Yeah, one day, but on the WWE YouTube channel, with Kathy Kelly, they have their own podcast thing, and it's very entertaining. But I think Cody Rhodes starting his "What Do You Want to Talk About" has kind of taken some of the momentum away from there. So Clark, I'm sure you'll be fuming on the matter.
Die clip.
But now let's move on. Well, actually, before we do, we have a few comments. Let's quickly get into. We have a comment here from Kavk's K, who's saying Mysterio's 2.0 with KO as the deadbeat dad.
Jeez Louise.
That's
how we debut Owen Owens.
Owen Owens. That needs to be his name.
After Owen Hart.
Yeah. Forgot about that.
Oh my god.
I'm just saying. Double O?
That has to be the...
We've had Double A, Arn Anderson. Why would we not have Owen Owens?
Double O, Owen
Double O,
Owens.
baby. Owen Owens.
Clark for president is the heel mark. But on that note, let's talk a little bit about Bayley, shall we? Because she's taken to the platform, which was once known as Twitter, now is known as X, and she's gotten her tweeting fingers out, and she actually took a screenshot of a meme and then posted that instead. But the meme says, just because you get used to something doesn't mean it's okay. You can get used to not being a priority, doesn't mean it's okay. You can get used to being forgotten, doesn't mean it's okay. You deserve better. Now, in recent weeks at Wrestling Republic, we have, especially me and David, at length, we've talked about the lack of time that women's wrestling is currently getting in WWE, because it is currently at a decline compared to a year ago, which in this day and age is just absolutely just unacceptable in my personal opinion. But Bayley, she's been pushing for an evolution too. She's been saying she wants a second all-women's pay-per-view. She's not been on WWE TV much since she lost the title, and now she's tweeted this. Clark, is everyone looking into this meme too much, or is she genuinely unhappy, do you reckon?
I can't lie. This one's more fascinating than a light show at a Grateful Dead show. It's interesting. Not totally sure. I mean, I look at it like this. Bayley's really dang good. First thought that came to my mind, it's a very similar conversation to what we just had with Kevin Owens. There's one caveat here. She just watched her best friend in the world that we're all very aware of wrestle in front of 50,000 in London and have a good time doing it. Get a win. Get a win. So that, I mean, there's no denying that Bayley and Mercedes Moné are tight. She showed up to support her numerous times post WWE. Numerous times. I'm not saying that this says anything other than what the meme is. Maybe she's talking about something else. But I don't know. It sounds a lot like I'm not getting what I want. I'm a bit annoyed. And if I'm going to recklessly speculate, my reckless speculation lends me to think the CEO and her have had some conversations, because that's likely situations like this, that type of feeling is how we ended up with Mercedes Moné where she is in the first place. The fact that they're linked that closely at the hip, you never know. At the end of the day, I think this is one of those ones, though, no matter what happens, whether it's true or not, Bayley at some point is going to come out and say, like, it's just a tweet. It's about.
It's been almost 7 hours now, and she
Spend
has
some
tweeted
time.
since then too, and she's not touched it.
So you never know, but we'll see either way. I think it's telling. It's telling to say the very least. It's telling to say the very least. We cannot forget how close those two are.
Yeah.
I mean, that team, we can't. And it's a factor. You watch this weekend, Bayley not booked for Bash. Bayley's not on Bash.
Nope.
Right? She's not. She's not traveling to Europe.
Well, she is currently in Europe, but yeah.
She's there, but she's not traveling to wrestle. Gears probably in the...
They're doing live events, but yeah.
Gears in the bag, but she's not putting the boots on for the PLE, is my point.
Yeah.
The gear's in the bag, but she's not putting the boots on. At the end of the day, yeah. I mean, it's sketchy, say the least.
She has. Well, there's two things I want to add quickly. Firstly, I'm going to be honest with you. I do agree. I think that is a shot directly at WWE there. Although she did just sign a new deal last year, so I don't think it's like the Kevin Owens thing in the case of she can't get out for quite some time. No idea how long the deal is, but they don't give out 2-3 year deals anymore. It's 4 or 5 years. But the other telling thing is that the tweet following that tweet is a video of her at a live event before the crowd gets there doing the Pretty Deadly dance for Pretty Deadly. So perhaps she's saying Pretty Deadly are underutilized. My boys, the Yes Boys, for the co-WWE champions, please.
That is not where I saw that going. I mean, Calf Cascade's comment here, I do want to read. Heel turn, that's it. Good call.
She's just turned heel. Like, she just turned face again.
But was she really a face? We didn't even get the inflatable arm flailing tube men back. We didn't get them back.
She was teaming with baby faces, which means she's a face. Come on, Clark. It's simple wrestling knowledge.
I
team with baby faces, you are a baby face.
Everybody at WR that loves Damage Control, Bayley didn't deserve that. It messed with Bayley. It bugged me. I'm sure it still bugs her. It's just frustrating. It's the whole, what damage did they ever control other than to Bayley's career? This is Bayley Dose straps. What are we talking about here?
Come on. It made everyone in that group a star, Clark. Bayley did a sacrifice for the greater good. We do have a few comments I want to get into. Firstly, it's Anthony Manzano's birthday. Shout out to you. I hope you're having a great birthday. Happy birthday. Kafka's K is saying that the golden role models in AEW, I mean, that would be fascinating to see. The heel mark says Bayley is being underutilized. and Clark needs to stop talking about the
scene.
CE. No, a
Not
lot of
a
people would agree
Mercedes
with that.
fan.
She is
I am.
getting like some hate for no good reason at the minute too.
I'm a Snoop fan for life. They're related. How can I not be a Monet fan?
Well, do you know what I'm a fan of, Clark? I am a fan of our friends over at Next Level. Now, if you guys don't know what Next Level is, let me talk to you. Basically, they've taken all our social media links and they put them in one place, and that one place is nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms linked all in one place. They additionally have an app. If you download their app, there's a section on their app dedicated to wrestling content creators. It's free. You got nothing to lose. All our links to all our social media platforms are there. I mean, it's as simple as that, really. Click the link below. It's in the description, but also nxconnect.me/Wrestling Republic to see all our content across all platforms, linked all in one place. But now it's time to move on because, of course, earlier this week the news broke that Psycho Sid had passed away. I believe it was a battle with cancer, and it really is just, it's absolutely tragic to see. But Ignacio, I know you wanted to come on and talk about Psycho Sid for a bit, so go ahead.
Yeah, man, another tragedy. It seems like these are happening, all too often. Ben and Clark. Last year we lost Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk around this time, I believe, and not to take anything away from Bray Wyatt, that's an absolute tragedy for many of them. But Clark, it just seems like more and more of our childhood heroes are going away because last year we lost the Bushwhacker Butch, and we lost Terry Funk and Iron Sheik and Lanny Poffo, and Sid is really somebody that left an impact on the business. And for example, Joe Hendry, who's on fire right now in TNA and NXT, and nothing but good things are coming to him in the near future. I believe he tweeted or something about how Psycho Sid Vicious influenced him, and how he actually changed his moveset to match that of Psycho Sid. That's how much of an inspiration that an impact that Psycho Sid had on Joe Hendry's career. And then you have guys like Sting and Ric Flair and coming out to tweet and send messages and their condolences, and how much Sid impacted their careers. That's all you got to say right there, really, is because how much of an impact he was on the wrestling industry, and how much he impacted those individuals in the past, and now this generation of wrestlers. I encourage wrestling fans, those who watch Wrestling Republic and fans in general, to go back, if you have Peacock or YouTube, while you look it up on YouTube, man, look up some of Sid's great moments. And of course, you might run into a blooper here and there, and some promos, but man, the intensity that he brought to his promos. I'll give you this an example. Back in the day when Sid was breaking into the business, they put him into the Four Horsemen, the most prestigious group, faction. The reason why we had got the NWO, the reason why we got DX in those factions, was because of the Four Horsemen. The way they got him over, or tried to get him over, they integrated him in that group as the enforcer of the muscle. Time went on and said, hey, we're trying to pump up Sting. This was around 1990. Hey, we're trying to pump up Sting. They're trying to phase out Ric Flair as being the top guy. We want Sting to be our top guy. They put the title on him. Who do we get as a challenger? Psycho Sid. Why? Because he's believable. Yep. Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania 8, his first quote unquote retirement match. Man, who do we get? Who do we get to put in the fray? Who would be good for Hogan's final opponent? Let's bring in Psycho Sid Justice. The whole plan was eventually was to make Sid the top babyface at the time. That didn't work out, but I mean, Sid was always regarded as a top guy. A few years later, who do we get to face The Undertaker at WrestleMania 13? Shawn Michaels, wasn't doing so well in his personal life. Who do we put the belt on? Psycho Sid. Who wrestles Undertaker to drop the title at WrestleMania 13? Psycho Sid. Who do they bring into WCW in the late 90s? Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were very integral in bringing in Psycho Sid in the late 90s. Why? Because he always had that connection with the crowd. Go look at Psycho Sid in his match with Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series, at Survivor Series 96. Look at his crowd reaction. Look at his crowd reaction in all his big matches. I remember the big program that he had in the late 90s when they brought him into WCW with Goldberg. Go look at Halloween Havoc 99 and his build-up with that match with Goldberg. I think that's the best thing that Goldberg's ever done, his program with Psycho Sid. It was great. It was a big man's a match, of course, and he might get criticized by fans nowadays because he worked that big man style. But everything he did makes sense. He had good matches with Shawn, with Brett, with Scott Hall, with Kevin Nash, with Hogan, believe it or not. I mean, everything he did was great. And he had that connection with the crowd where he could have been the biggest star, but sometimes maybe he got in his own way and other factors. But man, he was brought in to lead the charge in the late 90s with WCW when they were struggling. He had that whole Millennium Man gimmick, and he was in his late 30s, early 40s at the time. But I think if built right, he could have been the man to lead WCW into the next millennium, at least lead the charge for the next big superstar, come along and knock him off if they would have, succeeded in existing. But I mean, man, he was just had such an impact in the business, and too gone too soon.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that was absolutely beautiful too there, Ignacio, like genuinely. And I think about, him and Michaels had the rematch at Rumble 97 in San Antonio too. An absolute gem. There's not really a big guy in the industry though that you can point to and doesn't have a little bit of Psycho Sid or Sid Vicious in him. I mean, that the chokeslam and powerbomb combo, that's Kane.
Nobody did it better, yeah.
His moveset was as deep as anyone that's ever wrestled at his size. And he was, to your point, so believable and so great in ring. Lost way too early too, age-wise. I agree. I mean, it's funny because even like and not to throw like the blips on the radar, but like the legendary Scissors story with Arn Anderson.
Oh yeah.
Like, can you even imagine those two in the locker room with scissors? What? What? It's crazy. It's amazing. Like, even like just the little things like that. Him breaking it. He wrestled on a broken leg.
Yeah.
Sid did numerous times.
Yeah. And I think we've learned from what his son has said online and stuff, and that, he was a big family man.
Yes.
Stuff we've seen online. And I think that's what's most important. And, he gets made fun of like, oh, I'm leaving wrestling for a while because of softball or whatever. Well, I think softball was, to take him from somebody else who said it, I think softball was just language for, hey, I'm going to spend a couple of months with the family.
With the family.
I had enough for a little while. Yeah.
When not only that, if you've got Sid on your softball team, you got a slugger. Like, I mean, come on. There's so many changer. There's so many other like the stories when it comes to his legend. I mean, it's a brutal loss, like you'd mentioned, but his legend will live on for a long time. It's a guy we need to celebrate. It's interesting that at times I do feel like he was overlooked in our era growing up for how good he was. I mean, the one that everyone points back to is the famous, like, the Are We Live? It's one of the funniest moments in the history of wrestling. Who cares? We'll never forget that. And we'll never forget Psycho Sid or Sid Vicious either. Like,
what a great look. And just real quick, and we need to move on, but much like another big superstar in the business, Steve Austin. I mean, he had a great look. Sid had a great look, but no gimmicks, just black boots, black
trunks. Show up and hurt people. That was his gimmick, basically. Yeah. If you were going to call it a gimmick, it was show up and hurt people. Slam them really hard.
Oh well, I mean, you guys did a great job with that tribute. Absolutely. I mean, like Cav KSK saying, I'm in the same boat where I never really saw him in his prime, but I want to go back. I want to rewatch his stuff because it's he's clearly influenced so many fans this week. To your point, Ignacio, like so many wrestlers have come out this week and said that he influenced them as well. So undoubtedly a legend, and our thoughts and prayers with his friends and family at this time. We also have a comment here from Chris Leclerc saying that his dad passed away in 2005 from cancer. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, man. Oh, shit. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, no, and Cav Koska had a beautiful comment here. I'm sorry, Chris. I believe you must be proud of you. Cheers. Yes,
Absolutely.
sir. Yes, man. And having conversations like this is always, difficult no matter what we're doing. We're on a wrestling show here. It's supposed to be fun. We are still here to have fun, but yeah, man, things like that. Absolutely. Our heart goes out, that's
Absolutely. No doubt about it. But now, guys, let's move on to talk about tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. Of course, the first episode of AEW Dynamite following AEW All In their pay-per-view this weekend. I was there, Chaos was there, Soul was there, David was there. We all had an absolute blast being there, but can they keep up this momentum heading into a new week of AEW Dynamite? That is the question. Well, let me tell you guys something. This card, it's certainly the best chance they have of doing it. The new AEW champion, Bryan Danielson, will address his future. Swerve Strickland will speak on losing the title. We've got a celebration, a championship celebration from Mariah May, who of course foreshadowed Arsenal winning a bunch of trophies this season in Wembley Stadium, as we've spoken about before. And we've also got a match which I'm so pumped for. The singles one-on-one debut of Ricochet in AEW against Kyle Fletcher. And these two, considering obviously Ricochet's only been with the company for a few days, they've actually told a great story for this match on social media platforms. The best you could possibly do in, I guess, 4 days. But also a match which has just been announced, which I didn't know about until I just checked right now. We've got Hangman Page versus Tomohiro Ishii. Wow, that match. I'm pumped for that. And we also have Jamie Hayter returning to the ring against Harley Cameron. And an all-star, well, what they claim is an all-star 8-man tag team match, as Chris Jericho, Big Bill, Brian Keith, and Roderick Strong team up against Huck, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Kyle O'Reilly. I'm not sure if that's an all-star 8-man tag team match. I think that's an 8-man tag team match, which we've seen some variation of on Collision every week for the past 8 weeks. But in general, Ignacio, I want to get your thoughts heading into tonight's episode of AEW Dynamite. What do you think of the card, and what are you looking forward to the most?
So no MJF tonight?
There is no MJF announced.
Well, I'm not watching.
Wow.
It's just, well, he's just been the best thing on that show since he returned, and I've been a little bit critical about what he's done, but that whole like American gimmick that he did the past couple, bro, that's just, to me, that was genius. I don't know if that was Tony Khan's idea. If it was, then props to him, and poo on everything else he's been doing. That was just great stuff that he did, MJF did, and he's the biggest thing going on the show. Unless he's on there, I really have no interest in watching. I'm kind of interested to see what Danielson's going to do, because for months and months and months and months and years, or the past year or whatever, he said, well, I don't want the AEW title, and I just want to wrestle my last year, and I want to put on good matches, and that's it. So I'm kind of interested. I wouldn't put it past him if he drops the title tonight, because that's just the kind of BS booking that they do. I'm dropping the title because I don't really want it, and then they'll have some makeshift tournament for it or whatever, because that's the kind of booking Tony Khan does. And really, that's all I'm interested in how they flop Bryan Danielson. Because like I said before the show, I think it was Anthony that mentioned on a show or in a writing he did that Danielson should have put over Swerve because Swerve was the future. And I say that, well, Swerve may be the future, but Danielson's the champion they need now. So they need to book Danielson smart now to revive this company that's only sold, say, 1,000 tickets for tonight's Dynamite, and they want to put
just over 1,000.
They want to put 20, 30,000 people in Texas next year. I don't think so. Swerve's on the show tonight. I guess I'm interested in seeing what he's done, but this whole stuff with Jericho and learning tree, and it's been a bad show. And I'm sorry, it's bad TV. It's been bad, other than MJF and maybe Danielson, and once in a while I'll see what Turf Strickland's doing. I have no interest in it.
I do want to ask you about one thing since we've last spoken. I'm going to be honest with you. One of the worst parts of AEW Dynamite recently, and I'm a big MJF fan, I actually think has been MJF. He's come back. The heel turn felt so forced, and it was just such a generic, American gimmick he was doing. It just felt forced to me.
I don't know about that. I think I thought he just had fun with it. It's like, okay, I'm doing it, and I think he was just doing the best he could. And I thought he did a great job. I don't know. I mean, was he singing like Real American, the Hulk Hogan theme at one point or something like that?
I think it was genius.
Bro,
the entire thing was genius.
Great. That was great.
Dude,
I mean, he was great.
There was I don't know if you guys heard it on air. There was USA chants in Wembley Stadium.
All y'all, yeah, that was us, not you guys. All y'all said the same thing. You're like, oh no, we don't care. We forgot about the Revolutionary War.
People were cheering for Ospreay, not for the UK.
You booed him. He bugged you.
He was against Ospreay.
It was like the mummy, those bugs that get under your skin. That's what he did. He bugged you. All of you guys were frustrated by it. Now, it was great work by Max.
Nobody was chanting the UK, were they? They were chanting Will Ospreay.
You guys were all trying to do like that. It doesn't bother me. It's just, you don't even care. We love those guys. And then you all booed him out of the building, bloodied your boy, everything. You all cheered like crazy when your guy won. I love that, and that's great. But Max pissed y'all off. He did without a shadow of a doubt.
I wish they did it longer. Like he could have come out with like a 2x4 like Duggan, or he came out with Lex Luger's old. I don't care what anybody says. That was Lex Luger inspired US WWF
Luger gear was classic.
No, that blatantly was.
No, it was the slamming Yokozuna gear.
Well, it was so good, and that's the only thing. That's what kept me watching. And now it's just like, what are they going to do with them? Because I don't mean to go off on a rail here, but whatever. I mean, I wish MJF would have waited a year or whatever, because this WWE Netflix era that's coming, it would have been tailor-made for him.
I think
you are right about that.
I think the only reason he lost is because some slime ball from you guys' petty country stole his Dynamite diamond ring, so he had to load up the tape. That was the only way the diamond ring gets stolen by Max. Otherwise, he gets the victory. Ben, that's all I'm telling you. If the English don't steal his ring,
it wasn't
Max
the English.
Wins the match. It was you guys.
It was Daniel Garcia.
Well, he didn't show it.
Yeah, he did.
No, he didn't.
Didn't he? No, I swear he did.
He got really stolen.
Oh wow.
Thieves.
I thought he showed it like that. I mean, that's the thing, watching an arena, I guess.
No.
But
you had to wear like a taped up fake knuckle thing.
I will say this, right? I mean, this bit of a tangent again. Ospreay MJF, I absolutely adored. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's just how the gimmick change, I thought was just done so lazily and booked so badly. But, Clark, I want to get your thoughts on tonight's episode of Dynamite. Has this episode been booked lazily, or are you excited?
No, I am actually really excited about this one. I love the Ken Griffey Jr. Slugfest 1997 affair we'll have between Hangman and Ishii. They're going to hate each other hard. They're going to do it often. That's going to be fun. There's a couple other things I'm looking forward to. Danielson, I agree with. I don't think that happens tonight, but Danielson has Christian waiting in the wings here. We cannot
And Darby Allin at Grand Slam too.
And we also know that Danielson has that neck injury. So unsure of how that goes down, but I'm excited about it. Swerve's next direction, I think, has to weirdly be either Ospreay related or elsewhere. In a weird way, I think he's going to make a pivot tonight that will be impactful, especially since he's been announced to talk. I don't think we're just going to muddy the championship waters at the top of the card. And I think Swerve's going to do something cool tonight, no matter what it is. That's just a guess in my eyes. I could be wrong, but I think Swerve is a key cog in what we're going to see tonight. The thing I am looking forward to is I have a good feeling Max shows up. Unannounced. You don't need to announce Max. And he's going to be mad. Whatever it is, even if it's a vignette or just a brief appearance, I think we will see MJF on our screen tonight. I just got a feeling about it.
Well, we'll be excited if we do, and also just a reason. But I have, in the words of Paul Heyman, I don't have a prediction. I have a spoiler, and that spoiler is what's next for Swerve is Hangman Page. 1,000%. That's what's going to happen tonight. 1,000%.
I was trying to be more coy than that.
It cost him the title.
I was trying.
Those two are going to have a great brawl tonight. Violence.
I was trying to be more coy about that factor than that. Yes, that's exactly what I think is going to happen. But I thought we were no spoilers.
Well, we are now. No, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, some weeks going into Dynamite, I look at the card and I'm like, tonight I'm actually pumped. I genuinely think this is a stacked show coming out of a pay-per-view. I'm excited for it, so let's hope they continue their momentum. Fingers crossed, we'll have to wait and see. I will be back tomorrow morning for Allison Analysis talking about all of that. But tomorrow night, we've got... I cannot remember who's on the show. Clark, you're hosting. Do you remember who else it is?
I believe it's Shad and... Dang it, why'd you do this to me? Because it's somebody else that I'm a big fan of. I just can't remember who it is.
We do so many podcasts nowadays. It's hard to remember who's on them all.
It's another one of our friends.
It's another one of somebody. Shoot, Wrestling Republic. Let me get it up right now. But of course, we will be back for that show tomorrow night. I've got it here. So of course, we'll be back tomorrow night. It's going to be, we've got to put a disclaimer. He might be at another musical, but David's scheduled to appear. Card subject. I'm only joking. We've got David, Shard, and Clark back here tomorrow night. Same time, same place. They will kill it to talk a little bit of AEW as well. 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. Thank you, Clark. Thank you, Ignacio. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. We really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe. We will all see you tomorrow.